Hello, I am Ferra Lesi. I am a teacher of economics at the University of Turin, and I'm an expert in public economics in particular. I have no elements to say that the tax system in Taiwan is persecutory or unjust per se. But certainly it is not a transparent one, apparently, which is bad news for economy as a whole. On the other hand, my opinion is that nearly all tax systems, whenever used as a persecutory tool against a specific target, are particularly effective. Let me explain the question. First of all, tax policy is a very delicate subject. Within a tax system may lurk the most insidious threats to individuals' liberty. That is due mainly to three reasons, in my view. First, tax levy directly turns the revenue of individuals' work from the legitimate purposes of the taxpayer to the ones of the administrative authorities, which are not necessarily the same. Second, whenever government intervention within the economy expands, so does the tax burden. That frequently happens slowly and undetected, to the point where even a small change of tax policy greatly affects economic and family decisions, and you realize you have been traveling unawares a road to serfdom. Third, and this is the most relevant point in our question, third, tax persecutions, or even simply the revenue services mistakes, are difficult to be corrected. Since once initiated, they have a sort of administrative inertia, and so to speak, are often below the rather minimum altitude of human rights protection agencies, even because they are often too complicated to be easily understood by the public with a strong impact. We also must point out that the fight against tax avoidance, which is certainly a required activity of any government, constitutes for individual freedom a much more slippery ground with respect to the fight of tax evasion. Tax avoidance is not a black and white matter, it is made of shades of gray, and the risk is that any legitimate choice of one's activity that includes an economic dimension, such as, for example, the donation to a spiritual movement or spiritual leader, may be judged unlawful by the government interpretation. That is particularly dangerous as far as the government is not required to provide strong evidence of any violation, and the burden of proof is left on the shoulders of the individual. So on this specific topic we are discussing, we have a very difficult choice for the movement. Bad news is that the Revenue Service revealed itself in that occasion as an instrument of the executive power to carry out a persecution against a legitimate spiritual movement that also happened with other more invasive means, such as the preventive arrest or the preventive freezing of the movement and its leaders' assets. But as we have recalled, the tax persecution was lengthier and more difficult to be stopped. Good news is that the right choice was made by the Supreme Administrative Court that ruled that no tax fraud was present, and that donations by the students to their spiritual masters were donations indeed, so tax exempt and not tuition fees. The court also mentioned that its previous decisions against the movement were wrong. However, the administrative inertia, so to say, still left alive some claims by the Revenue Service. concerning exactly the same violation which was declared inexistent by the court. Of course, the movement and the leaders do not want to settle even on these relatively minor remaining claims, since to admit a violation would mean to declare that something was made contrary to the founding principle of the movement itself, and ultimately that would give the victory to the persecutors. Not an international lawyer, but what I can say is that you should fight on political and information ground to present what is clearly a violation, a multiple violation of your human rights. Although I recognize that on the side of public information, the question is difficult to be explained with the desired impact, but if you accept to pay an unjust bill, that may be easily viewed as a consequence of some kind of fault, and you shouldn't admit a fault on your side. I strongly encourage you to fight against this persecution. Thank you.